watching Action 7 News live at 10. Coverage you can count on.
Tonight, President Obama is vowing to find out who's responsible for those deadly blasts in Boston that killed 3 people and injured more than 100. Nicole Killian continues our coverage now with that part of the story.
Hours after a pair of bombs exploded at the Boston.
We stand with the people in Boston.
The president said he and the First Lady's thoughts and prayers are with the victims in the wake of this senseless loss. In Washington, Nicole Killian, KOAT Action 7 News.
Federal officials wouldn't say much about the investigation except that it is active and fluid. Tomorrow, lawmakers on the Intelligence Committee are expected to get briefed with more information on Capitol Hill. A New Mexico business was keeping an especially close eye on what was happening in Boston today. Employees of Heart and Soul, an athletic store in Albuquerque, say they had a lot of friends and customers running in the marathon. And when they heard about the explosions, they tracked their friends to see if they'd finished the race.
It looks like based on the finishing times, everybody from Albuquerque had been through long before the bombs went off.
As far as we know, no one from Albuquerque was hurt.
Following the tragedy, Governor Martinez released this statement. My thoughts and prayers are with all of today's victims who were injured or killed, as well as their friends and family members and all of the New Mexicans who were visiting the great city of Boston for today's marathon. I also pray for the first responders to this tragic situation who are doing everything they can to provide aid and comfort to those who have been affected. Many New Mexicans are also turning to Facebook to share their feelings about the disaster. JD writes, America is entering a stage of terrorism. The evil-minded will always find a way to spread fear and sadness. And Deborah Gallegos says, how sad that people would do this to people they didn't even know. My prayers go out to all of those affected. A new probation and parole office is coming to downtown Albuquerque, just a few feet away from a child care center and an art center for teens.
New intent community members tell Action 7 News reporter Melissa Colorado they want the criminals to stay away from their children.
For many kids, Warehouse 508 is in downtown Albuquerque. Melissa Colorado, KOAT Action 7 News.
The state says moving the probation and parole office closer to the courts downtown will save taxpayers millions of dollars because it cuts down on gas and time. It is a list no one wants to be on, the states where the most children die from abuse. In 2010, federal statistics show New Mexico is at number 2 with 19 deaths. In most cases, the children's killers are their own biological parents. UNM hospital officials say some of the children who survived the abuse are left with permanent brain injuries.
A lot of them will have feeding difficulties, they'll have speech difficulties, they'll have vision problems, they can have problems with their cognitive processing, with their thinking abilities.
Psychologists say a parent who was abused as a child has a 50% chance of abusing their own child.
A massive audit, which will include details on why New Mexico inmates were mistakenly released early, will be available at the end of the month. Specifically, inmates let go from September 2010 to September 2012. The State Department of Corrections said they mistakenly released convicted double murderer Dion Henderson in February of 2012, but last week, when they realized their mistake, Henderson was found the next day and taken back to prison. Albuquerque Mayor Richard Berry has been busy raising money for his re-election. Campaign organizers filed a financial disclosure report today with the city clerk of Albuquerque. The report shows Berry raised more than $250,000 in personal contributions. The mayor says no corporate contributions were accepted. It says Berry received 512 contributions. Nearly half of those were for $100 or less.
Chances are your home is the most expensive thing you own. And if you've purchased or renewed homeowners insurance recently, you've probably noticed a few changes when it comes to cost and coverage. In this Project Economy report, how to make sure you're getting what you pay for. It now costs an average of $1,000 before you realize your homeowner's insurance policy isn't the right fit. A job at Starbucks or Walmart could help students graduate from college more quickly. A growing number of major companies are offering their own classes to sharpen workers' skills, and many of these are eligible for college credit. In Seattle, Starbucks workers can earn 1.5 credits for classes like Barista Basics and Barista 101, while Walmart's classes teach employees about time management, effective phone skills, and managing diversity. It's up to each university to decide whether to accept these credits.
Another bachelor blow-up. The possibility is hot on the web. Sean Lowe just popped the question to Catherine last month, but they're already reportedly living apart and have put their wedding plans on hold. This follows multiple stories of Sean's parents asking him to rethink his decision about marrying Catherine. On the set of Dancing with the Stars, Sean says the issue with the parents isn't new. His mom told him to be careful, and it's a huge decision to get married at all during the season finale of The Bachelor. Most kids would love the chance of taking a home run ball or a foul ball home, but not this kid. After a ball is knocked into the stands, the guy who catches it hands it to the dad, who gives it to the kid who you just saw, throws it back toward the field. Here it comes again. Well, needless to say, Mom and Dad are puzzled, and the kid's brother sitting next to him is very upset, probably because their beloved A's, and yes, my beloved A's as well, were getting killed by the Tigers 9-1.
Checking tomorrow's headlines, as the drought continues to ravage the Rio Grande, Central New Mexico's largest agricultural water agency announces it's stopping deliveries to some of its farmers. Our partners at the Journal report today customers who buy water 1 year at a time from the Middle Rio Grande Conservancy District's water bank were told they'd be cut off unless Rio Grande flows improve. This comes as Texas has filed a suit with the U.S. Supreme Court accusing New Mexico farmers of taking more than their share of water from the lower Rio Grande. Well, today it started out pretty well, but man, the winds are really rough in the afternoon.
We expect tomorrow to play out in a very similar way. If you like to do the walk or jog thing, do that right after you wake up, because you got about a 2 or 3 hour window before the winds. They're going to get feisty on us, and I'll tell you what, high on the east side of town.
All right, Eric. The fight over guns rages on in our nation's capital.
As the Senate gets ready to take on the issue, we'll take a look at just how likely this controversial legislation will pass. But first, here's what you'll see later on Nightline.
Shelley, later tonight on Nightline at our new time, we'll pick up your coverage of the tragic explosions near the finish of the Boston Marathon. Over 100 wounded, at least 3 dead, including that 8-year-old. Plus, the unfolding investigation inside who did this and why. That's on Nightline, now at midnight, right here on KOAT 7. Hope you can join us.
And after weeks of threats from North Korea, the country has not acted, but experts say that doesn't mean we're in the clear.
You're watching Action 7 News live at 10. Coverage you can count on.
Tonight, more fears over North Korea, that secretive country increasing worldwide tension with threats of a new nuclear missile.
But the mystery now growing. Why hasn't North Korea delivered on its threat? Has it all been one big bluff? ABC's Joey Cho has more.
North Korea's paid threat is over. Joo-hee Cho, ABC News, Seoul.
More violence in Iraq. At least 55 people are dead after a series of car bombings and other attacks today. Officials believe these are the work of al-Qaeda and that the group is trying to create fear for Iraqis just days before the country's elections. Iraqi officials believe al-Qaeda is growing stronger and is coordinating with allies fighting to oust Syrian President Bashar Assad across the border. The deadliest of today's attacks was in Baghdad, where 25 people were killed.
A man accused of shooting and killing a pregnant woman and shooting an officer during a high-speed chase is now in custody. Officials say the unidentified suspect was arrested this afternoon after a 4-hour standoff. They say someone at the home where the victim was killed heard her shout the suspect's name and watched them drive off. Police found the man's vehicle about 90 minutes later, but he refused to pull over, prompting the chase. Authorities investigating the murders of a Texas prosecutor and his wife believe a former Kaufman County official sent a threatening email to authorities just 1 day after their deaths. According to documents released by the county sheriff today, officials traced the threat to the personal computer of former Justice of the Peace Eric Williams. The prosecutor's office handled a theft case against Williams that cost him his job. He was arrested Saturday after authorities found several weapons in a storage unit linked to him. New details are emerging about the man accused in a shooting that wounded 2 women at a Virginia community college. Christiansburg police say Neil McGinnis purchased a 12-gauge shotgun legally and that he told them he was having a bad week. But investigators say they have found no links between the 18-year-old suspect and the 2 victims who are recovering.
The parents of a Northern California teenager are demanding an end to cyberbullying. Audrey Pott committed suicide after police say she was sexually assaulted at a party. Last September, Pott was drinking at an unsupervised party with 12 others in Saratoga, California. Investigators say a photo of the assault was passed around and texted. 8 days later, Audrey hanged herself, and her family read posts from her Facebook page saying, quote, "I'm in hell. Everyone knows about that night. My life is over."
If this can happen to my daughter, it can happen to anyone.
3 teen boys were arrested last week. Their attorney released a statement saying much of what has been reported over the last several days has been inaccurate. Well, the teens are scheduled to be in court tomorrow. A vote on a bipartisan gun bill is pushed back in the Senate. CNN reports it's not expected to be considered until the end of the week. The measure would expand background checks for all firearm sales, but right now it doesn't have the 60 votes needed to overcome Republican opposition.
Criminals don't care about the laws that we pass with regards to guns.
It's going to be a tough fight to even get the 60 votes we need.
However, the Supreme Court is staying quiet on the issue. It refused to hear a challenge to New York's strict gun control law, which makes it difficult for New Yorkers to carry concealed handguns in public.
Today, supporters of comprehensive immigration reform gathered outside the Capitol. They vowed not to back down until Congress acts. A bipartisan group of senators has come up with an immigration overhaul plan, but it's not clear if enough of them support it. ABC's Tamon Bradley is in Washington, D.C. with more.
Today on the steps of the U.S. Capitol.
Tamon Bradley, ABC News, Washington.
Republicans and Democrats should finish reviewing the Gang of Eight proposal tomorrow. A Senate committee will hold hearings on it Friday. Hugo Chavez's successor takes the presidential oath in Venezuela's capital of Caracas. Nicolas Maduro was handpicked to replace the late President Chavez, but his challenger, Enrique Capriles, is demanding a recount and refusing to admit defeat. Election officials say Maduro won with just 50.7% of the vote. Carnival Cruise is in the news again, this time for saving lives. A Disney and Carnival cruise ship helped rescue two groups of Cuban nationals on rafts to the Gulf of Mexico. The crew on the Carnival ship spotted them about 40 miles off the coast of Key West Friday. Carnival says the conquest seen in these pictures brought the Cubans aboard the ship and provided food, water, and medical treatment.
It's a day many dread all year, but did you know Tax Day is also one of the most dangerous days on the roads? Dr. Ramo has details on the Health Beat.
All right, so Dr. Ramo, it's tax day. And head to the Health Beat section of KOAT.com.
Health coverage continues tomorrow at 4 with the Dr. Oz Show. How would you like to feel 10 years younger? Well, Dr. Oz gives you tips to drop a decade. Then at 5, Dr. Ramo has the Salty 6, the top 6 foods that make your blood pressure skyrocket.
A warning tonight for anyone looking for a quick and easy way to lose weight. The FDA says the stimulant commonly found in dietary supplements known as DMAA or dimethylamine can cause increased blood pressure, shortness of breath, cardiovascular problems, or even heart attacks. The product is promoted as a natural way to speed up weight loss, but the FDA says it's received reports of 86 illnesses and deaths associated with supplements containing DMAA. An incredibly important and possibly life-changing event is happening this weekend, one that you're emceeing.
That's right. The Nancy Floyd Hayworth Foundation is holding free seminars this Saturday with the latest information on breast cancer technology and treatments. New breast imaging technology and plastic reconstructive surgery are just two of the topics you can learn more about at the Embassy Suites this Saturday at 9 and 10:30 in the morning. If you'd like tickets to the luncheon afterwards, just call 265-6342. We hope to see you there.
Now here's meteorologist Eric Green with tonight's First Alert video.
First, we're headed north to my home state, Minnesota. It's been a rough winter, and it just won't quit. Check this out. A spring snowstorm made a mess of the roads, and a big highway accident near Barnesville caused a semi to spill onto its side. And the semi, look at that, was carrying a load of pigs. Well, the pigs filed out of the semi-trailer and just kind of hung out by the road in a group, making for quite a scene, as you can see right there. And this is a little closer to home in Fort Collins, Colorado. You can see the snow's coming down pretty hard here as well. Heavy enough to let the kiddos out of school today, and more snow days are possible in this area. The flakes, they're expected to fly here through Wednesday. By the time it's done, they could pick up 6 to 10 inches. We could sure use some of that moisture here in New Mexico. Doug, Shelley?
Apparently, some cats really do have 9 lives.
A family in Illinois says they thought their family kitty Muffin had died. She was cold, not moving, and did not have a pulse. So the McCallum family put her in a box and buried her in the backyard. When their little boy put flowers on the cat's grave, they discovered Muffin was alive.
When I was burying the hole for it, I heard a meow.
As soon as I put the shovel in the ground, I could hear. We started moving the dirt. Then I couldn't move the dirt fast enough.
Well, that's freaky. So after being buried for 3.5 hours, it was not finite for this feline. Well, the vet checked Muffin and declared the cat perfectly happy and healthy. Aren't you glad I had that line, Doug? She has to take 30 days of medicine for encephalitis.
And it's a black cat.
That's freaky. Can you imagine? You mourn this animal, it's in the ground, and then you, it's a little weird, that story.
The next time it happens for real, that poor little kid's go, it's okay, he's going to wake up.
Right, it's alive.
Yeah, don't worry, Muffin's fine.
That story's sad.
Look at tonight's top stories next.
And we'll take a final look at your morning forecast.
Here's a look at tonight's top stories.
Multiple explosions at the Boston Marathon leave at least 3 people dead and dozens more hurt. There were 80 New Mexico runners taking part in the marathon. 2 of them, a mother-daughter team from Albuquerque, were very close to one of the explosions. Abby Mars tells Action 7 News she had just finished running and was recovering in a restaurant a block away when the blast went off at the finish line. She said she was worried about her mother, who finished within seconds of the explosion, but both ended up being okay.
Albuquerque Police Chief Ray Schultz says his officers are on alert after what what happened in Boston. 14 minutes after the first explosion at the marathon, APD received notification about the attacks. The chief says the real-time crime center has been monitoring the situation all day and expect to see more security at local events like the upcoming Warrior Dash and the run at the zoo. He asked residents to be extra careful and report anything suspicious. Now here's Eric with the look at the morning forecast.
Well, I'll tell you what, tomorrow morning looking just fine, but we will see more of those strong winds along with the warm and dry conditions. So tomorrow, another extreme fire danger day. Big time cool down Wednesday into Thursday, but that's all done just in time for the weekend.
All right, thanks for watching.
Jimmy Kimmel's next.
Good night.
This has been Action 7 News, honored as the state's best evening newscast by the New Mexico Broadcasters Association.